It's knowing that your door is always open and your path is free to walk. It makes me tend to leave my sleeping bag rolled up and stashed behind your couch. It's knowing I'm not shackled by forgotten words and laws and the ink stains that have dried upon some line. That keeps you in the back roads by the rivers of my memory. That keeps you ever gentle on my mind. It's not clinging to the rocks and ivy painted on their columns now that bind me. Something that somebody said because they thought we'd fit together walking. It's not knowing that the world will not be cursing or forgiving when I walk around the railroad track and find that you're moving on the back roads by the rivers of my memory, and hours you're just gentle on my mind. Though the wheat fields and the clotheslines and the junkyards and the highways come between us, and some other woman's crying to her mother 'cause she turned and I was gone, I still might run in silence, tears of joy might stain my face, and the summer sun might burn me till I'm blind. But not to where I cannot see you walking on the back roads by the rivers flowing gentle on my mind. I dip my cup of soup back from a gurgling, crackling cauldron in some train yard. My beard a rustling towel and a dirty hat pulled low across my face. Through cup hands round the tin can, I pretend to hold you to my breast and find that you're waiting from the back roads by the rivers of my memories, ever smiling, ever gentle on my mind.
And a good Thursday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you. We're going to be here on audio only here at the start tonight, and we've got a pre-recorded interview coming up with Ruth Guggenheim of Emunah Israel, and you're going to enjoy this interview. It's going to last about 45 minutes. We'll be back to say goodnight to you after this. This will be our final show of the week on the News Network, and we encourage you to be with us tomorrow night on our Faith Network from Waveland, Mississippi, for our prophecy conference, and it'll be Friday night at 7, Saturday at 10 in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Saturday night at 7. We really, really encourage you, if you're along the Gulf Coast or near that area down there, please be with us at the Lutheran Church of the Pines and so forth. This interview tonight, we're going to be talking to Ruth about the U.S. betrayal of Israel and what it means for the future of the country. I'll be back to say goodnight to you and a few final thoughts tonight. After this interview, we are grateful that Ruth's with us. We hope that you'll sit back and enjoy a Thursday night McFiles special pre-recorded interview with Miss Ruth Guggenheim of Emunah Israel. May the Lord bless you tonight and enjoy a Thursday night McFile event. Be blessed. And a good evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on a very special McFiles broadcast. We're so grateful to have this dear lady back with us, Ruth Guggenheim. She's from World Emunah Israel, and we're going to let her be our guest tonight. And I got to meet this beautiful lady in person, and it was a pleasure. We met at the God's Land event over in Nashville at the National Religious Broadcasters event. And Ruth, it's so good to have you tonight. A lot's happened even since I've seen you in Nashville. The world seems to get crazier every day. I know you're back in Israel, and we're grateful
for the time we had together in Nashville. And we're grateful that you're our friend and guest on this network, and you're always welcome here. But we're looking forward to talking to you tonight. It's good to have you, friend. Shalom.
Thanks. I greatly appreciate you having me again, Chris. And it was nice to meet you face to face in Nashville a couple of weeks ago. That was a true blessing.
True blessing for me, and it was a good event. I appreciated the speakers at the event and so forth. Ruth, just since we've met, just since we saw each other 2 weeks ago, the tenor of our nation has really went south on Israel. I was reading this World Israel News website just today before we came on. And Joe Biden, it seems like, is actively trying to tear the Israeli government down. Chuck Schumer came out today calling for Netanyahu's ouster, special elections.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Anthony Blinken, a comment he made I thought was the most hideous thing in the world. He said, Gazan lives are more important than destroying Hamas. And to me, that is an oxymoron, because if you're not going to destroy the terrorist group that is causing the loss of life, then you don't care about Gazan life. And they always want to put it on Israel. And, we've talked about this the last couple of times you've been on. The world just has this distorted view that it's not the Hamas terrorists that are the enemy, it's Israel. And that is not true. And I don't know how you fix stupid in this country, but that's coming from our government. That's not coming from left-wing punk kids on a college campus anymore. That's coming from the main hall at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And it's got to, if I was in the Israeli shoes, if I was over there listening to this mess, I would tell America to keep its nose out of our business. Number two, I tell Joe Biden, you need to deal with your own border. Stop worrying about our border. We'll deal with our terrorist situation within our border. You can't even deal with yours. But ultimately, Benjamin Netanyahu has got to protect Israeli life. And he's doing the best he can. I know he's not perfect. I know there's things he probably could have done better. But this actively trying to destroy his government, Ruth, it's hideous. But it's going on here. What's your thoughts on all this?
Well, you said a lot. I think what's really happening, there's been a true decay of the American government and certainly the administration's support for Israel and moral clarity, I would say. There's a tremendous lack of moral clarity in America right now, and it starts with your government. And, the mere fact that they could flip from one day, not literally one day, but from 1 month of totally supporting Israel right after October 7th and being obviously the victims and massacred and everything, to totally flipping right now. It's not normal, in my opinion. There's absolutely no other country in the world that is expected to stop and pull back when they're in the middle of a war that we did not start, and that is literally a war for survival, which I think many people, certainly when I was in America now, I mean, there's confusion, and understandably, even the Israeli people, don't misunderstand. There's confusion. There's, we want the war to end. Nobody likes this. We still have thousands and thousands of people that are displaced that cannot go home. This is 5 months. They're living in hotels in the center of the country. Now we have the whole thing going on with Hezbollah in the north, and that's going to blast open any minute now, to be honest, it looks like. And, but there's absolutely no other country that is dictated to, that is a sovereign country that is told what to do. You don't have to like our government. Many of us don't like the government necessarily. And, we do wonder what's going on behind closed doors. There's an exhaustion around all this, but there's absolutely you have countries that surround Israel. You have Arab countries that have destroyed their people, that have had massacres of their own people and civil war and all that. Nobody steps in and tells them to stop, tells their dictatorships to stop. And yet Israel, which is a democratic country that obviously is not perfect, but we are fighting for the survival of our life and our soul. This is not a little war. This is really a religious war right now, as we've discussed in the past. Yes, it's taking a physical ramifications, obviously. That's how God works on some level. But, it is a religious war, and it is a good versus evil war.
It is. And again, I'm glad you used the word moral clarity, because we are so lacking that over here. And, I think from what I sense out in the public, because I interact with people just like you do every day, and I talk to a lot of people that are surrounding this situation that are not government people. They're just normal people that pay their bills, love their families, and And I think the American population, for the most part, now there's an element that don't, but for the most part, the people get it. I think that most people understand that if this would have happened to America, if we'd have had a brutal attack such as the one that was endured on October the 7th, and another nation, let's just say the United Nations or France or Germany or somebody was telling us, well, you don't have a moral right to go in and defend your country, and we need to worry about the civilian casualties. And I heard the biggest joke this morning that one of the things that the aid, that they're really threatening the aid that America's given to Israel, and they literally put in the statement that Israel has to give 100% guarantee that no civilian casualties are going to take place. And I mean, you got to just spit your Coke out and choke on the bullshit of that comment and the hypocrisy of it, because there's no way Israel can do that. There's no way anybody could do that. America couldn't do that. Nobody could. And I love
what Hamas won't let it happen.
They won't let it happen, Ruth.
Hamas uses their own people. There are truly innocent people, Arabic people in those city centers and surrounding those tunnels and surrounding the Hamas offices they are the victims of all this, yet they can't speak up. They can't say anything. And they kill their own people also. They use them for human shields. We all follow this. We've been following this for decades. This is nothing new. This in terms of how they use their own people as pawns. Now, what's unfortunate is their youth, their children, and we know, and this has been documented now, and books have been found, UNRWA has paid for the curriculum that is going on in elementary schools all over the territories there, all over the Gaza, and they are inundating their children with such hatred and everything, and yet they also still pay for slay. So it's not the Jewish people, it's not the Israeli society that is holding up peace. It is their own people, and it is the Hamas terrorists.
That's right.
They don't want peace.
Speaking of Hezbollah, you mentioned them a while ago, just before we came on the interview today that we're doing on Thursday, 100 rockets got fired into northern Israel just in the last 24 hours. And I want to ask you about that, because that is a part of this war that a lot of people are not really paying attention to, but I think we better, because I'm like you, I think that poses more of a danger to Israel's, because that's getting closer to Jerusalem. I mean, that is more in the northern part, not the southern. But how concerned are the people in Israel over that this morning, this afternoon? Because that's another dangerous front, isn't it?
I think Israel's very scared about this. The people, first of all, you have, just like what happened in the South, you had all these families that had to evacuate, thousands and thousands of families, again, when the war broke out. And the same thing is happening in the North. The government has been having families evacuate into the center of the country now for over a month, easily. So they are expecting full-out war. And I'm not a politician, and I don't want to pretend like I know the military strategy or anything. But what I do know, Chris, is that, from everything we have been told, Hezbollah is better funded than Hamas and better coordinated. And even though they're both part of the Iranian, proxy group, the Iranian people, from that point of view, Hezbollah apparently has been, doing this, has been, what's the word, like coordinating their efforts for longer. And I think the Houthis obviously are a part of that whole thing. And I'm surprised how little the American people seem to understand what's going on with the waterways, okay? Because the Houthis, who are controlling the waterways, and America is responding to every time they shoot another ship or something. They're just playing bully right now, like cat versus mouse or mouse versus cat. The reality is there's going to come a moment, and I don't know when it's going to actually happen, where they're going to really, it's going to explode with what the Houthis are doing. And the mere fact that global commerce is being affected, and they're a part of this whole Hezbollah and Iranian mission, if you will. We all collectively have to look at that, because when our commerce globally is affected, we're all going to feel it, and you're going to feel it in America. They're going to feel it in other parts of the world. It's going to make your inflation go crazy, and yet we have to protect that waterway.
Did you? I don't know if you heard this or not. And again, this just since I've met you, Miss Ruth. I mean, for goodness sake, I mean, I thought the world would calm down after we met. We solved everything in Nashville. I thought we had solved the world's problems after we left that conference that day. But I mean, this is how crazy it gets. I saw a report 2 days ago. and this is another, was a Coke spitter outer and a laughing matter to me. I spit my Coke out all the time. I turn the TV on. I probably shouldn't watch news, but Joe Biden wants to come address the Knesset. And I thought to myself, since when does foreign leaders demand to come speak to the legislative body of a foreign nation to dictate to them how they handle their business? And I wish Benjamin Netanyahu, I know why he won't do it. I know probably he wants to do it. I know why he won't do it, but I wished he would do it. Is tell Joe Biden, keep your blinking nose out of our business. As you said a while ago, Israel's a sovereign country. They're our only ally in the Middle East, and they can handle this. And America just needs to stay out of it. We need to help Israel in this fight because they're fighting a common enemy. And I want to throw Iran into this because this is the second part of my question. I saw a video of Nasrallah, the Iranian Khomeini, or whatever the head they call him over there.
Khomeini, yeah.
He is scared, at least he said verbally, of a full-scale war with Israel. And I found that intriguing. And I don't know if that's just the Muslim spirit of lying, the Islamic, Yasser Arafat telling us peace to Israel and then kill all the Jews behind the scenes. I don't know if this is the public face of a lie behind the scenes. They're not really scared. Do you think Iran is scared of Israel? Do you think that they are?
No.
I don't think they are.
I don't think they are, but, I'm going to go a little off track for a second. Your listeners and you may not realize not this weekend, but the weekend after, Saturday night and Sunday, is the holiday of Purim. So the holiday of Purim, which is from the book of Esther, the whole storyboard, the whole story narrative takes place in Shushan and in Persia. Persia is Iran. Okay. That story takes place in modern day Iran. Okay. So the only thing I can think of is, if people, and we do know that the Muslim community isn't like the Jewish and Christian community, where we do have a foundation based in the scriptures, the Hebrew scriptures, and then you might have the New Testament, we have the Hebrew scriptures, but it's the Bible. We have a similar, same foundation from that point of view. They don't believe in the Bible, whether it's the, Hebrew scriptures or the New Testament. They only have the Quran. But I would venture to say anyone who knows any history understands that when you turn against the Jews, ultimately, you're going to pay the price. And the story of Purim is the perfect thing. I mean, God was behind the scenes. The whole book of Esther talks about Esther and Mordecai and everything. The name of God is not said once in the book. And the name of God wasn't said because there's a Jewish term called Hester punning, saying that God is always there, but he sometimes hides from the public appearance. Sometimes we see God's handprint, so to speak, and it's so obvious. But other times we have to connect the dots, like now, and say, like, you know what? God is clearly here. If you connect the dots, especially from 1948 until now, you see God's movement. You see and you understand on some level. Now, we may not always understand or like what some of the dots are showing us, but that was all preordained in the prophecies. So I would say on some level, Chris, the only reason they may be afraid is because they truly understand that you go against the Jews, ultimately, you're going to pay that price.
That's interesting.
And the Iranian people, the modern day Iranian people, will pay it. Look, before the whole civil war in Iran, in the 1960s, way before, for 100 years, Jewish people were very, they were the business. They were the backbone in Iran. We lived very comfortably. We were business people. There was a lot of Jews living in Iran for the 2,000 years since our exile. Okay. And they were actively involved. And then when the state of Israel, the modern state, was ordained, most of the Arab countries, and especially Iran, just started to send us out. But when the revolution happened, Iran no longer was a Western type country. It was under the mullah and everything. It became much more, Shia and Sunni religious. And that's the fanaticism that we're seeing, and that they're the ones who want to destroy everything. But I think deep inside, they may also know they better watch themselves.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And, it's funny. And this blew me away too. In that same speech, they threw shade on Jordan, and they actually said, and this was part of what he was saying, that if they could get rid of Jordan, they feel like that Jordan is a shield to Israel. And it's very ironic to me because there's a part of prophecy that we New Testament Christians believe that Jordan is going to play a huge role in basically sheltering the Jewish people during a coming time called the tribulation. And I find it very interesting. And my question to you about Jordan is this. Abdullah was over here maybe a month ago. Is Jordan considered a friend to Israel? I know they're not overtly not going to go down and sit down and have lunch with Bibi, but they've never really been overtly hostile to Israel. I've seen a few things through this, but are they sort of?
I don't have a really good answer because again, I haven't thought of that, but from the limited amount that I know, I don't believe there are friends right now.
Okay.
It was like a Cold War for a while, like
Right.
peaceful and coexistence. First of all, the Jordanians get a tremendous amount of help from the Israelis, from our agriculture and from our water resources. And I know for many, many years, even during this quote cold time, before the wars and everything, many of the scientists that started the agricultural dip system, the dip system for the water irrigation and the desalination of the salt water system, that's all from Israel, and they shared a lot of it with the Jordanians because their land, they don't have water reserves and they need it. They're a country that's in desperate need of water, so they come to Israel for that assistance, and Israel has willingly given it over the years. But I think right now things are a little bit stretched. I don't see the king right now being at all supportive of Israel. And again, he's also, none of the Arab countries are coming out and saying Hamas should never have done what they did. Had they not started it, they may be saying it privately, I don't know, but none of them, and Jordan for sure has not, that I'm aware of, come out and said anything to put Hamas in their place and to ridicule Hamas and insist that they do a ceasefire. Why is it that everyone's looking to Israel that we do a ceasefire? Our people are still hostages. We have still over 130. We don't even know if they're alive at this point. And we know that this week, and unfortunately, one of the hostages has been confirmed dead, and he carried both American and Israeli citizenship, and yet America hasn't done anything. There are other people that are hostages that are not just Israelis and not just Jews, but where is the Arab world or any of the rest of the world telling them to stop? And if they would all, last week Israel demanded, you want a ceasefire? Give us the names of our people, who's alive and who's not. Are they getting their medicines? Are they getting food? They won't say anything, but yet we're to blame at this point.
Well, you answered my question, because that was my next question. Was there any Arab countries that had stepped forward and condemned the atrocities of October the 7th? And you answered that. And that's
not that I'm aware of. I'd be happy to, even Saudi Arabia, people that are supposed to be a part of the newer versioning of Abrahamic Accords.
Exactly. And that was where I was going next with Saudis, because you would think they would at least condemn the terrorism, because Ruth, these people, Hamas, backed by Iran hates Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia needs to understand these people will come down there and do that to them. These Houthis and Yemenis and the Qatars, and there's no friend. Look, this dynamic of the Middle East, this enemy of my enemy is my friend. There's a lot of enemies. And let's just face facts. There ain't none of them that's lunch buddies. There ain't none of them that are going to sit down and have a kumbaya session with anybody. And you would think that they would coalesce around seeing this. And it makes you wonder if it's Jew hatred, if it's the hatred of Israel that says they cannot bring themselves to do it, blindness, stupidity, or a combination of all three. But if I'm in a modern Arab country like Jordan, like Saudi Arabia, I recognize that's evil. That evil could be perpetuated on my country just like it's been perpetuated on Israel, and maybe worse, right?
Well, but you bring up an interesting point. I on some level, I think the Arabs, even if behind closed doors, they are putting down the Hamas and the terrorist groups, and maybe even they don't support the Ghazians, to be perfectly honest, because they're not taking them in willingly.
Thank you.
You're like, where have they been? Every time there's something. And so they're showing that they're not standing behind their own brethren. But I have a question, like, why why in America do you have the left and so many people who have all of a sudden become so pro-Palestinian? They don't even know what they're talking about.
They don't.
How did that turn? How quickly everyone forgot 9/11, like we talked about. One thing that I read, and my numbers may not be correct, but the amount of Israelis that were killed on October 7th and taken hostages, it would be the equivalent of about 35,000 Americans killed in those, plane attacks. And well, would America sit still?
No.
I certainly hope not.
No.
They wouldn't. And I think one of the biggest problems we're confronting now too is obviously it's Biden feels he's got to do whatever he can to regain to win the election that's coming up. He wants to be the next president again, which I think is scary.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, it's scary for the world, because if he does win the election, and God help us all if he does, but I think Israel is going to be in great danger, because he will put pressure on her. I think he will continue to pressure her to do what he's trying to do now. We had the Oscars, which I don't watch. I don't watch the crap, but I saw that there was some of the actors wore the red pins, and it was in solidarity with the Palestinians. And, to your question about what would America do, would America stand by and not do anything about 35,000 people? And it hit me, Ruth, that in this country, and I'm sure that there may be a small element in Israel too, what's sad to me about our society in general, and this is an overarching society problem, I'm afraid that there would still be people in this country, sadly, even if 35,000 people were slaughtered, just absolutely slaughtered in the streets, you would have elements in this nation, and I'm not so sure in this government, that would stand up and say, we need to do nothing, that we need to go negotiate with the people that did this. We need to find out why they did this, and we need to placate to them and bow down to them and say, please tell us what we did to cause you to slaughter 35,000 people. Right. Because when you get down to it and you listen to this bull crap that's being pushed on Israel, that's exactly sort of what they're trying to tell Israel to do. You need to go to the Hamas terrorists and let them tell you what their grievances are. And if you will just give in to what they want and do what they tell you to do, then everything will be wiped under the rug. Let's forget about the massacre. Let's forget about the rapes. Let's forget about the beheaded babies. Let's forget about all the danger that these people went through and the terror and the horrific bloodletting that went on October the 7th, and there'll be peace over there. That element exists in this country. And I don't think 35,000 people would move the barometer. I don't think it'd move it an inch. It wouldn't make a dent.
Well, Chris, I'll be honest, I didn't watch the Oscars, but there's been, and I never do, but there's been enough written about the unfortunate. Not only did some people wear the pins, which, okay, they have the right to. The worst thing is that many of them were Jews. And apparently that person who won the Oscar, who will remain nameless, even if you have problems with Israel or your own faith system or something, it doesn't behoove any of us to stand up in a very public arena. The Oscars, millions and millions of people are seeing it and endorsing what's going on and kind of turning against your own people. We as people, as humans, sometimes we just have to keep our mouth shut. You have the right to say things. You want to speak to your best friend over a cup of coffee about your concerns. Go for it. You want to even, demonstrate in a politically correct way. You've got the right to do that. But when a Jew stands up there who doesn't even know a thing about his own history and condemns from left to right, there's a word in Hebrew called the shanda. That is so embarrassing, and it is so wrong, because then obviously it's more food for fodder for those who say, look, even that guy, this famous actor or producer.
Exactly right. Great point.
He talks again, like, keep this to yourself. It's like, why in society at large, we wash our dirty laundry in front of everybody nowadays. When you and I grew up, there was much more, you kept things to yourself. You didn't have to be on social media and a mouthpiece about everything. You kept certain things. And what he did not, it's unbelievable. It's embarrassing, and it's unbelievable.
And I'm with you. I was with you 1,000% on that. And again, it's just society, Ruth. I think it's just the way people have gotten. I think social media has been the one, is social media in the right way, used the right way, can be a big blessing, but it has turned into a curse. It really has turned into a curse because it has been a place where people, I think you say things over social media you would never dream of saying to somebody in person. You wouldn't do it in person, but they hide as cowards behind the media. They hide behind that camera. That guy, I guarantee you, if he would have said that, or the person that said that would have went into a restaurant or went into a group of fellow Jews and said that, they would have never done it. But because they're in the land of La La Land and the land of this evil cabal out there, I mean, they're in friendly territory. They can get up there and run their trap like that, and nothing happens to them because their cronies are clapping them on and say that's right. But you don't come out here, and I put it like this: what was the guy that got in trouble? You don't do that down south. He wouldn't have done, they wouldn't have done that down south because we had a come to Jesus meeting with him. And Bibi was the other morning. I won't say. I have to laugh a little bit about Bibi. Fox News, and we got about 10 minutes, and I want to talk with you more about Israel, how you got home in your trip before we leave the interview. But I had to laugh. I really laughed hard. I've laughed hard at a lot of things lately, not in a good way. But I have to admire Bibi Netanyahu. I know, again, he's not perfect. But Fox was trying to corner him because the open mic moment at the State of the Union, Joe Biden was bragging. He said, well, we're going to have a come to Jesus meeting with Bibi Netanyahu. And the Fox News reporter was trying, I don't know if he was trying to trap him or he was just trying to be a smart aleck. But either way, I think Bibi handled it as beautifully as a man could handle it. And he said, what do you think about that? And Bibi looked at the camera and he said, well, he said, no offense, sir. He said, but that comment wouldn't mean nothing to me. But he said, I do know that Jesus was born close to Jerusalem down the road from where all this terror is going on. And I don't think he'd like it too much. And I said,
didn't hear that, but that, right. He was born a couple miles outside of Jerusalem.
In Bethlehem, exactly. I said, way to go, Bibi. That's a way to handle ignoramuses on the media. Hey, listen, before we've got about 10 minutes, I know you were out over here in America. It was so good to have you, meet you in Nashville. What was your take as you visited your homeland here in America? Because you're American, you got American citizenship and Israeli citizenship. Coming here and going back, tenor of the people, what's your thoughts and feelings as you got back home to Israel? I mean, it's got to be a breath of fresh air, but you go back home and your country's fighting for your life. How do you feel personally?
It's hard, being at NRB is nice when you're amongst Christians who have a heart and love for Israel and the people and are willing to listen, even if they don't agree with everything. There's enough of a desire to engage in a positive dialogue, so you have an opportunity to share in a very cohesive, unified manner and to share ideas in that. One of the things I found about NRB, Chris, is I went right before COVID to my first one. I think it was 2019. What's happened over the past couple of years, it's become much more aware of Israel and the dynamics behind Israel and the role it plays in the world at large. And as Christian media individuals, whether it was news, radio, print, whatever, turning to Israel for more answers or responses, that seems to be much more open usually. And obviously at NRB, similar to other Christian organizations I've been to, if they're open to us, we have a great relationship and they support everything and they try to work together in partnership, both to benefit your followers or their followers and to benefit our people. You had mentioned earlier about it, and at NRB, they launched the Keep God's Land initiative. Keep God's Land initiative is going to be multifaceted. I can't tell you much about it. I actually interviewed one of the gentlemen from Israel 365 on our podcast the other night. And what I found out, I mean, it is definitely a multi-level political thing, but the goal is to work certainly within the church community and organizations to spread facts about Israel. Most people have no idea about Judea and Samaria. They don't, everyone thinks it's the West. But one of the things that the NRB did as a vote within its board of directors and all that was when they launched Keep God's Land, was to make people aware that there is no such thing as a West Bank. The West Bank is a negative terminology. This is Judea and Samaria, or as we would say, Yehuda and Shomron. It is biblical. It's been around for 3,500 years. It's been talked about in the Bible. Yehuda and Shomron is our biblical homeland. It is a part of where Jerusalem is. It's a part of where Hebron is. Bethlehem is there. So it is truly what we call the heartland. So raising awareness about this is God's land. When you talk about Eilat, people love Eilat. It's the beaches, but you know what? That's not originally a part of the biblical Israel. So it happens to be now a part of Israel, but it's not the biblical heartland of Israel the way Judea and Samaria. you ask somebody, they don't realize Judea is Yehuda. Our name is Yehudim. We
So
are
beautiful.
called Judea. We are called the
Exactly.
Jews who lived in Judea. There's like a whole historical trail there and biblical trail. You don't even have to be a believer in the Bible. You can just read it, and then you see some historical archaeological things that they're finding that proves we lived here for 3,500 years. This is God's land. So it's not keeping our land, it's keeping God's land the way he wants to see all of us respected and supported and just blessed.
That's so true, Ruth, and I'm with you 1,000,000%. I just how's the humanitarian situation in Israel right now? I know that after the October 7th, it was pretty dire. Has things improved any with the humanitarian crisis?
People, Baruch Hashem, thank God, Jews, Christians, Gentiles, people are supporting a lot of the efforts, whether it's our things for us, like at Emunah, we're very big on the grief counseling, the trauma, we're dealing with that, where we have counselors all over the country. People are supporting it. I just heard today from a government official. I mean, apparently in Israel, more and more people are donating. They want to support and bless Israel. So, there is a humanitarian crisis from day to day. We've got a lot of families that we are helping to, raise money or funds for. For instance, these people we talked about earlier in the interview who are living in these hotels. The hotels are not providing adequate food anymore or closing, let alone therapy, because these people are going crazy. 5 months with your kids in a hotel room, anyone would go crazy, to be sure, But one of the things, like with holidays, with Shabbat food, the community at large, there's volunteers. They say that over 70% of every Israeli community is volunteering and raising money to support these families, to support the reservist families. You've got women that have been with their children and their husbands in the army for 4 months. So, depending on what need or what might be of interest to someone from a humanitarian point of view, the needs are definitely there. They're going to continue to be honest for a couple of years, because this, obviously, we were not expecting a war like this. There was nothing in the budget to support these families, the extra food, even supporting the soldiers costs money that they weren't really having. But every community, they send food every day, or Shabbat meals, holiday meals, to all the soldiers. They do whatever they can. So the humanitarian needs are definitely there. But thank God,
Yeah,
Israel's strong. The people
yeah.
are strong here.
I know that, and I'm grateful to hear that, and I know that a lot of our people that watch this network have asked about helping, and I hope that they are going to do that through the website. And listen, I want to tell you again how much of an honor it was for me to meet you. Y'all did a great job with question and answer. The whole event was very well done. And I think that, and again, you don't have to. Nobody had to agree with every jot and tittle that was said in the room, but I think we were all there for a common purpose, to understand that that land is under duress, and that land is trying to be taken from Israel by forces that would destroy all of us if they could. I mean, it's not just about the land. It's not about dirt. I heard some smart aleck preacher over here a few months ago make the comment. He said, well, God's not a real estate agent. Well, but God, I think, is a real estate agent when it comes to his own land, because God's the one that gave Israel that land. That land don't even belong to Israel when you get down to it. And I love what your conference said. It's keep God's land. Y'all didn't even name it keep Israel's land. It's God's land.
It's
And he's
God's
got a
land,
sovereign
exactly.
right to give it to whoever he wants to. And he has sovereignly chosen Israel to basically keep that land. And we as a church, we as the Christian community, we need to pray for that to continue to be so, and to be right, and for the peace of Jerusalem, because look, we're all at danger in this. I get grieved when I see our government do the things and say the things publicly, because I think I want to go back to this as we close. I don't even care if Joe Biden and Schumer and this bunch don't like Bibi Netanyahu personally. They hate Israel's guts. Go behind the scenes, go behind rooms, talk to Bibi Netanyahu, talk to him privately. But when you put it out over that public airway, all that does is empower Hamas. All it does is empowers Israel's enemies. And I love what David Friedman said to Kudlow. Whenever the Hamas terrorists see any distance between America and Israel, they feel like that's a green light to them to perpetrate more evil on Israel and to dig down and not concede anything and just keep doing what they're doing. When Israel and America are seen like this, the world takes notice. Under President Trump, that's what the world saw. That's what Hamas saw. That's what Hezbollah saw. That's what the PA saw. And I ain't talked about the PA. I do want to ask you real quick, your thoughts about them dissolving the PA. Is that good or bad for Israel? Or
I don't think it's good, but again, I'm not a politician. I'm concerned. I think the PA was always a lot. You know, they weren't even two-faced. They were really honest too. They hated us. They didn't want peace. They didn't want peace for their own people. What I'm just afraid of, Chris, is who's going to come in after.
That's a great point, buddy.
You know, it's at least we knew our enemy, but now it could be Hamas taking over the government.
Well, listen, I want
to PA government.
Thank you so much for being with me. I want us to do this regularly. I know your schedule will dictate a lot of that, but listen, you're welcome to come on. I'd love to do one of these once a month. And I'm looking forward to one day stepping foot on God's land and being a guest over there and helping where we can. It's on my bucket list. My heart has yearned to come to Israel all my life. And this is probably one of the few times in my life I've been able to. And I'm looking forward to that day that we can share bread and break bread together over here in Israel.
God willing. One last thing, Chris, if people should know, when I come to America, hopefully in the beginning of the summer, you know, Emunah, myself, other people, we're available to speak at churches or at groups, you know, meet and greets at people's homes or at churches. We would love the opportunity to talk both on behalf of Emunah, but also most importantly on behalf of the people of Israel.
Well, I tell you what, we're doing conferences every month. And what I might do is when you come, let me know some dates and I might coordinate my conference with you and we might get together and do something together. That'd be great because we'd be honored.
Sounds good.
We'd be honored to have you. Listen, my friend, give the website real quick where people can help. And
okay, so they can go to emunahisrael.org. It's EMUNAH. Israel, Israel, emunahisrael.org. And if anybody wants to write to me personally, it's Ruth, RUTH, at World Emunah, EMUNAH.org. But if you go to the website, you'll see who we are. We also have a Facebook page, Emunah Angels of Israel. But I would love to be in touch with everybody from America.
Absolutely, Ruth. Ruth, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Both
Thank you. Right back.
And we want to thank Ruth Guggenheim tonight of Emunah Israel for being our Thursday night guest. We want to thank you all for being with us tonight. We don't have a lot to add to what she said. We encourage you to share the video out as many people as you can. It's good to see some folks in the house we hadn't seen in a while. And we want to say again on this Thursday night, as we wrap this week's shows up, we will see you all in Mississippi tomorrow night. And we hope that you can come be with us. I do want to wish a very happy birthday to Miss Cleo Cleotis. It is March 22nd in Australia. And we want to say thank you to her. She's been a faithful friend and a moderator on this network, really from the days we started. And tomorrow is her birthday, and it's the 22nd is tomorrow in America, but it's already the 22nd in Australia. So a very, very happy birthday to Cleo tonight. And we hope that you'll pass those sentiments on, those that know her. Listen, we've had a great time with you. I do want to show you one quick thing before we wrap it up tonight. And we will be talking about this more next week. I know a lot of the buzz has been about the Eclipse. And we've got a lot to say about it, more than we've really been saying about it for a while. But I do want you to look at this map. I found this very intriguing tonight. The line above it was August the 21st of 2017. We were able to see this. It came across eastern Tennessee. It was in Sweetwater. I was at a friend's house and took some startling photos of that eclipse. First one I'd ever seen up close. Total solar eclipse. Look at the path of the one of April the 8th. It forms an X, folks, right in the center. Absolutely right in the center of the country. And we're going to have a dear friend of ours coming on April the 4th, which is going to be the Thursday before April the 8th. And his name's Troy Anderson. And he's got some thoughts about this picture right here. He interviewed Billy Graham right before he died, and Billy Graham had something to say about it. It's intriguing that one of the places on this map that this total solar eclipse is going to go over is Nineveh, Ohio, of all places. And we've got some thoughts about that, but don't want to share them with you tonight. But I think it suffices to say that you might want to be praying for your country. There's a message in this eclipse, and we're going to talk about it next week a little bit. We've got some great guests coming next week. Bill Federer will be back with us, and we'll have a show. Our next news show will be Monday night, and then Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night again. And then we've got our Easter services, our faith services in full next weekend for Easter. Whatever you can do, if you can be with us tomorrow night, Waveland, Mississippi, on US 90, about 45 miles west of Biloxi, at the Lutheran Church of the Pine. It's really where the Beautiful Gate Christian Academy, and that's a little school that this network supports. We're going to be there tomorrow night at 7, Saturday all day, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 7 o'clock. Talking about end-time eschatology. Tomorrow night, we're going to be dealing with the Feast of Prophecy. You don't want to miss this. And then Saturday, we're going to be dealing with the land of Israel in the morning. We're going to be dealing with the Hamas, the Haman and Hamas spirit Saturday afternoon about anti-Semitism. And then Saturday night, we're going to be dealing with the Islamic Antichrist, and we're going to talk about how God is going to bring revival to both the Muslims and bring Israel back to him. There's a verse in Isaiah that's going to speak about that, and we're going to share our thoughts on that on Saturday night. So please be with us if you can. Listen, we appreciate you all being with us tonight on this Thursday night, and it's right at an hour we've been going, and we don't have a lot more to say. We do, but I'm going to save it for next week because we want to give everything due diligence. May the Lord bless you tonight. If you've enjoyed this show, put some fire in that house for us, and we want to thank Ruth Guggenheim again, really, truly tonight, for a great interview and her thoughts on Israel as she always brings us, and we'll have Ruth back on soon. Until tomorrow night from Mississippi, Chris McDonald, God bless you, God bless your families, and God bless this great nation of America. Pray for your nation, folks. Pray for your nation. We definitely need it. And we'll see you down the road. Our next news show will be Monday night at 9, and then we'll see you this Sunday on the Faith Network on our next regular show. It'll be Sunday night probably with a Bible study for Sunday night. But please be with us in Mississippi if you can. And until then, McDonald out on a Thursday night. May the Lord bless you as our prayers. Have a good night, everybody. Be blessed. It's knowing that your door is always open and your path is free to walk. It makes me tend to leave my sleeping bag rolled up and stashed behind your couch. It's knowing I'm not shackled by forgotten words and thoughts and the ink stains that have dried upon some line. That keeps you in the back roads by the rivers of my memory. That keeps you ever gentle on my mind. It's not clinging to the rocks and ivy painted on their columns now that bind me. Or something that somebody said because they thought we'd fit together walking. It's not knowing that the world will not be cursing or forgiven when I walk around the railroad track and find that you're moving on the back roads by the rivers of my memory, and hours you're just gentle on my mind. Though the wheat fields and the clotheslines and the junkyards and the highways come between us, and some other woman's crying to her mother 'cause she turned and I was gone, I still might run in silence, tears of joy might stain my face, and the summer sun might burn me till I'm blind. But not to where I cannot see you walking on the back roads by the rivers flowing gentle on my mind.
I dip my cup of soup back from a gurgling, crackling cauldron in some train yard. My beard a rustling towel and a dirty hat pulled low across my face. Through cup hands round the tin can, I pretend to hold you to my breast and find that you're waiting from the back roads by the rivers of my memories, ever smiling, ever gentle on my mind.